Stop moving, stop. I'm trying to do a YouTube intro. Stop. We rolling? What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to teach you how to build cabinet face frames. In last week's video, I went over in detail how I build a cabinet carcass. If you have not seen that video, I'll link it up here in the top. I highly recommend you watch that video. Well, without further ado, let's get into it. Get out. Get out. God, no. Are we done? Alright everybody, welcome back to the channel. Now let's talk face frame. And no, not those face frame, I swear. Come on man, get back to work. You got things to do, man. I'm trying to run a YouTube channel. Yeah, I hear you. Anyway, with that out of the way, let's get back to the video. And in this video, oh my gosh, this guy is a clown. Yeah, slide to the left. Yeah, I hear you. But I'm going to be using poplar because poplar is paint grade and these cabinets will be painted. And poplar paint's excellent. Yep, just like that. Yeah, we see it, man. We got it. And with your wood of choice selected, the next thing we will do is go to the drawing board. Now, a face frame is constructed from a stile and a rail. A rail is horizontal, a stile is vertical. Now, on this face frame, I will have 3 drawers, so I will have 4 rails and 2 stiles. And don't worry about the dimensions right now, we'll measure for that later. But it's also a good idea to make a cut list once you measure, like I have right here in the corner. But depending on what you want in your cabinet, your face frame could vary. And now that we have a general idea of how a face frame is constructed, we can move on to the next step. And now that we have our face frame layout in mind, we can take our piece of wood to the joiner. Now, if you do not have a joiner, there are plenty other ways to get a straight edge. Just YouTube it. I'm not going to show it in this video just for the length of this video's purposes, trying to keep this to a minimum. But it is very important to get a straight edge, that way it matches flat against your table saw fence. Now that we have our straight edge on our piece of wood, we can take it to the table saw and rip it down to its final width. Now, I typically build my face frames at 1.5 inches wide, but some people typically go wider, but 1.5 inches just seems to work with everything that I do. If for some reason you need a custom piece, with a wider face frame, at this point you can rip it to whatever width you need. But like I said, I use 1.5 inches, and that's what I'm doing in this video. And golly, man, whew, scared me. Jeez, that guy right there, I'm telling you. Too much fun in the shop. Yeah, get back to work, man. God. Now that we have our pieces ripped to size, we can measure our cabinet carcass and determine what size we need to cut our pieces at. Now, typically, I overhang my cabinet face frame by 1/4 inch on both sides, and it should be flush with the top and the bottom. And now that we know those dimensions, we can head over to the miter saw and cut those down to final length. Now that we have all of our pieces cut, you want to sit in random locations in your shop, just staring at your drawing, figuring out what is the next step. I'm just kidding, I'm going to show you. Just hang on. Now with all of our pieces cut, let's go over and make sure we have everything we need to build this face frame. With all of our pieces laid out, we can see that we have 2 stiles and we have 4 rails. Now the next step in this video, what we're going to, I guess, play the drums. Yeah, just enjoy it while you can, buddy. Just enjoy it. Now that we have all of our pieces cut to size and all of our parts accounted for, we can take them over to the pocket hole machine. Now you want to drill 2 pocket holes on each rail and on both sides of the rail. You don't have to use a machine like this. You can use the regular pocket jig from Craig. It works just as good. But just make sure you drill 2 pocket holes on each side of all your rails. And with our pocket holes in place, we can take a look and see we've got 4 rails with 2 pocket holes on each end and our 2 stiles. And before we start gluing this thing together and screwing it all up, we want to just kind of lay our parts out on our work table and see about where everything's going to go, just get a feel for it. That way we have a good idea when we start applying glue and screws, we know exactly where everything's going to go. Sorry for the camera right here, it just kind of decided to go in and out of focus a time or two. But you can see I'm still doing what I was saying and just kind of getting a feel for all the pieces. And now that we have the general layout in mind, we can go back to the drawing board. Now we need to figure out the distance between our rails, and this is usually determined by how big you want your drawer boxes. And once you figure out how big you want your drawer boxes, well, it's time to start putting this thing together. And just make sure you put glue between all your joints. Once again, the screw acts as the clamp, while the wood glue is what actually bonds it together. And I took some video of this, so just sit back and enjoy it, like I'm going to. And now that we have the outer edge of the face frame complete, we can do things like, I guess, crawl through it. I'm not really sure what I was thinking when I was doing this, but I guess crawling through it was the first thing I thought about doing. But yeah, so we have the outer edge of, what's he doing now? Hoop? What in the world? A hula hoop? Yeah, I don't recommend doing that. I kind of actually hurt my ankle. These are spacer blocks that go between your rails for your cabinet face frame. And the length and size of these are determined by the space that you want between your rails. Now, I highly recommend using spacer blocks opposed to measuring with a tape measure, trying to make marks and get everything lined up. Because I promise you, you won't get it as good as you can if you use spacer blocks. So make sure you keep that tip in mind. And as you can see me using them here, it helps keep everything nice and square, and I don't have to worry about trying to make my rails right on the lines if I was to use a tape measure. It's pretty much bulletproof, and I highly recommend using spacer blocks when you're doing any kind of cabinet frames. With all the pieces glued and screwed, look what we have here, a beautiful face frame. Just look how excited I am, and you should be too. But we're not done yet. We got one more thing to do, and that's sand. Every woodworker's dream and joy. God, I love sanding. It's just so much fun. But I don't want to bore you with me talking, so just sit back and enjoy these sweet clips I put together. Now with that sweet montage complete, we can start putting the face frame on the cabinet. Now remember when I said I built this face frame, I do a 1/4 inch overhang on both sides and it needs to be flush with the top and the bottom. I'm just using clamps in this video to show you where the face frame should line up with the cabinet. If you remember from the previous video, the pocket holes around the outside of the cabinet carcass are what's used to screw the face frame into place. I'm not going to do that because I'm going to paint my face frame before attaching. Mic drop. Alright guys, we did it. Cabinet face frame complete. Hopefully you were able to follow along in the video, learn a few tips and tricks along the way if you were thinking about doing a cabinet yourself. But with the face frames done, next week's video we'll be going over how to build drawer boxes along with drawer faces. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button, consider subscribing to the channel, and stay tuned for part 3. See ya! Hey, hurry up. Finish sweeping. Let's go. I'm ready to leave. I'm about to turn the lights out on you.